Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show with your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
It certainly is. Good day right back to you, Mr. Marcelino. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
We got to hang out a couple days over the weekend there.
Yeah, that was fun. It was a good long holiday week.
Yes.
Almost.
And we got I teched for Johnny Chill.
You did. Thank you for lending a hand.
Oh, that was an enlightening experience, actually. But first, I think we ought to give out our thank yous to everybody for being so cool, and to just say that we have a new piece now on our website. We have a donate button.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I haven't been to the site in a couple of days. I've been up to my eyebrows and stuff.
I understand. We're not, how do we put this? We want to keep the show free, but we also, if you could donate just anything, it helps kind of offset some of the expense that we put into this.
Absolutely.
And, so it's like, I'm giving you a show for free, but please pay for it.
Plenty.
No,
but
it's not that.
Plenty of shows do it. Plenty of shows. It enables us to
keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah,
that's right.
It keeps things moving.
That's right.
Because it does cost a little bit of bucks, and hopefully we're educating some people.
Yes.
On some things that they may not know. I mean, we have covered a lot of things, especially with Soundcheck and the two guys, Rich Eckhart and Peter Stroud.
Right.
Those guys are like, you never really, that name may not be something that you know, but you've definitely heard them,
and you get, the behind the scenes from a lot of these guys like Dan O'Neill and things like that. It's you get all aspects of the business. So at least we try. I mean,
exactly.
George Grimaldi with Sony Extreme. I mean, where do you get that?
You don't get that.
You don't, right?
Yeah,
right.
And you didn't get that 20 years ago, and to get it now is even more difficult. So
right.
That was, so we try to give you some stuff here, and hopefully you're learning and you're enjoying it. And, if you can throw a couple shekels, it would be awesome.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, you got to go back and listen to the previous episodes, because there's a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
there's a bunch of stuff there.
There's a bunch of stuff. I learned some stuff. I learn stuff all the time.
Yes. As me too. And I learned teching for you guys that that is, for those guys, the techs, that is one giant labor of love. That is a lot of hurry up and wait. And a
lot of the businesses hurry up and wait.
And it's not glamorous at all. I tell you, my hat goes off to those techs, the Dan O'Neills of the world, because that is the guys that you're doing it for, they are very thankful. Because without them, they wouldn't have any. They'd be carrying it themselves.
Right.
But
it's not only carrying it. It's when you need another guitar, you don't have to worry about standing in front of the people looking like somebody with their thumb up their butt while you're tuning your guitar. It's ready to rock.
Yeah. So my hat goes off to those guys, because that, like I said, that definitely is a labor of love.
And let's not forget our friend Craig Poole, who is also tech for years.
I totally forgot about Craig.
Matchbox and all those guys. So
exactly. And you guys opened up for Grand Funk Railroad.
We did. That was a bunch of fun.
And I got to actually get a half a second to talk to Mr.
Bruce Kulick.
Bruce Kulick. My God, the names just escape me sometimes. And what a great guy. Very nice. All those guys.
No,
but
they're all nice guys.
It is Don Brewer's birthday today.
Is it really?
It is. So happy birthday,
Don.
Mr. Brewer.
That's right.
And I went last night to see Kenny Wayne Shepherd play with my wife down at Ram's Head Tavern in Annapolis, Maryland.
Your wife was playing too?
No.
Oh, okay.
She takes me.
Okay. You said playing with your wife,
I
and
never get to.
I didn't want to go in that direction,
I
so I
understand.
went.
No,
a couple
no.
different directions you could have gone with that one.
Yeah.
okay.
No, she gets. We get tickets.
No
you know
offense.
how it is.
No offense, colleagues.
Please. Anyway, so we go and we see them, and I just want to make a quick observation. I swear, there's this whole genre of guys, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I just feel like, man, just go and enjoy the show. I see so many guys that go out to these guitar player shows, Joe Bonamassa, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, even Robert Cray.
Are they nitpicking?
They're just there with the arms crossed. They're not getting into it. And I'm like, or they're videotaping. I was watching this one guy, and he was videotaping every solo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it just, I have this thing, and I heard Dimebag say it one time in a video that you can see on YouTube. And he said, guys just get a little skitzed out. You know, they get a little too much. Where he's like, man, just kick it back. Let it flow. If you know what you know, you're going to, that's it. You're not going to, no matter how stressed you are, you're not going to play any better.
And if you're in the audience, you're there to enjoy.
Exactly.
I can't understand how music can't move people. I mean, if your sole purpose is to go and critique, then I really don't know why you're there. If you're not buying a ticket to enjoy the music, I mean, unless you're a journalist and you're there to critique the show, I can understand that. Okay, but still, if you're a music critic and you're there to critique the show, if you're a music critic, I have to assume that you're into music. And if you're into music, how can it not move you? I mean, it really is a physical thing. It affects you physically. I'm speechless because I don't get people that can just sit there with their arms crossed and find fault or just sit there and analyze.
It's like what we were talking about when we were talking to Kirk McKim.
Okay.
Where he said that a guy made a comment that he wasn't using his pinky when he was just noodling on this guitar that he had just bought. I find it so weird. I watch YouTube a lot. I go out and I look for all new artists, and I look for these guys that are doing things, and I'll go through. I read the comments, and some of the comments are, I mean, it's just the weirdest thing. I'm like, the guy will go, at minute 2:32, I thought that was a hammer-on instead of you picked that note. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, that to me is not, you're not even, I don't know what that is. I mean, that is literally analyzing it down to the second.
And okay, if you learned or attempted to play it one way and then you finally have seen it with some other way, maybe it's okay to just question it. It's like, wow, you do it that way. I learned it and I've always been playing it this way. It's really cool to see that you play it a different way, Yeah,
I guess guys like at Woodshed or something, and they see the guy and they go, hey man, how are you doing that riff? That's a little bit, and I thought you would do it this way.
Right.
Just like you said.
Right.
But to go, you didn't play that like that on the album.
Right. He missed that note. He just kind of skimmed over that note. I mean, he's being sloppy tonight. You know what? Go home.
Yeah. And then you get
you know what? You're not on the stage. Go home.
And then you get what I like is, especially with Kenny Wayne Shepherd. And I tell you, when I hear this, I want to throttle the person in the face. And I'm not a violent guy like, well, maybe I'm not a violent guy like that.
No, you're not. You are not.
But I've heard people say, well, he's just a Stevie Ray Vaughan clone. And I'm like, this is a kid that played with Bo Diddley in his backup band. He told us about it. He said he got to go on tour with Bo Diddley, and then his band played as his band.
Right.
So they opened up for Bo Diddley, and then they just stayed on the stage. Bo Diddley came out, and Bo Diddley did his set. Mm-hmm. And, how many people have done that? You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, a kid was 15 years old at the time doing that.
Well, there's only one Stevie, and maybe he was heavily influenced by
his dad worked for him,
right? And of course he was heavily influenced. Who out there is not influenced
by somebody?
By a lot of people.
Yes.
I mean, there's only so many notes, and there's only so many damn ways to play.
Well, here's the thing that gets me. Why does Kenny Wayne Shepherd get the backhand? Oh, you're just Stevie Ray Vaughan clone.
Mm-hmm.
But Derek Trucks is his closest thing living to Dwayne Allman.
Absolutely.
And because he grew up in that environment. And his dad's the drummer. He was the drummer then,
but
too.
I mean, look, how many people did Stevie steal licks from?
Oh my God, Albert King.
Right. I mean, why was he not, thrashed within an inch of his life? Oh, he's an Albert King wannabe, or he's a, this, everybody's influenced by somebody. And this is really cool because this brings me to a great quote that I read the other day, and I really wish I could give credit to it. I don't know who it was.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is just so appropriate, and then we'll move on to our guest.
Absolutely.
But I think it's so appropriate because everybody's got a style. Everybody's got a style in the way they play.
I don't know what you would call mine, but go ahead.
If you sat down and thought about it long, it'd be figured out. But everyone's got a style, and this quote is just so. It's really. I thought it was kind of deep when I heard it.
Okay.
Your style comes from your inability to imitate your influences.
Oh, that's very cool.
I just thought that was so deep because
it's very profound.
And we all try to play like, oh God, I want to learn that Clapton lick, or I want to learn this.
I want to be Van Halen.
I want to be Eddie, or whatever. And you learn it, but you could never execute it the same way as those guys.
No.
So you learn all these licks and you execute them your way, the best way possible.
Sure.
Which is your way. And the whole conglomerate, the whole amalgam, after a certain amount of time, turns into your style.
Yeah.
And that's where your style comes from. It's your inability to imitate your influences.
Absolutely.
I think that's just so profound.
Now, the cat we have coming up,
yes,
Mr. Adam Rafferty, is a pretty amazing player. He's a fingerstyle player. He does all very Michael Hedges, Andy McKee, in that level of playing. It's like, well, do you need a drummer? No, I got the right hand. Do you need a bass player? Nah, left hand's taking care of that. And melody lines and all the rhythm.
Right.
It's just like, when you watch him, it's
pretty comprehensive.
It just looks like it's not even, it's pretty amazing.
It is. And right up will be
Mr. Adam Rafferty.
Hey, this is Peter Stroud with Sheryl Crow. You're listening to my good buddies Jeff and Mick on Amps and Axes.
All right. Well, we're back.
Yes, we
because I
are.
love to say that. And on the line here, we have Mr. Adam Rafferty, just an amazing fingerstyle player. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Very well, Adam. This is Jeff, and thank you for being on with us. I know it's late your time because you're in Germany, right?
I'm actually in Austria.
Oh, in
at the
Austria.
moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you reside there or are you on tour?
Well, I'm sort of always on tour, and as you know, the typical musician story. While on tour, I fell in love with a beautiful Austrian girl, so I'm spending most of my time here.
Wow.
Nice.
So it's a combination of being on tour and having fallen in love. And I don't recommend that for other musicians.
Why, you want it all to yourself?
Do as I say.
He wants to keep that part all for himself, you know.
I got you. So we are talking to Germany. That's amazing, isn't it?
Austria.
Austria.
Well,
Sorry.
Austria.
Same thing.
It's sort of
Yeah,
like,
it's-
but it's close enough to
Right.
Germany.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, I discovered you on YouTube, of course. I mean, that's where a lot of people see guys like yourself. And I just saw the amazing Superstitious. And I was like, wow, there's a level of these guys out there, like Andy McKee, and then you got Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah.
And then I saw Adam, and I was like, where's this farm that these guys are coming from? Because it's just amazing to watch. And the other thing is, do you use all those crazy tunings? Because I saw McKee live one time, and he explained some of the tunings. And I was like, where do you dream this stuff up? Because it just doesn't even make sense to just
I don't use crazy tunings. I play mainly in standard tuning.
Wow.
Well, that's even more impressive.
Occasionally with drop D, and 2 songs I drop the A string to a G, so I have kind of an open G tuning. But that's only 2 songs.
Wow.
And the rest is either drop D or standard.
Standard. Wow.
Well, that is amazing.
Well, let's let's back the bus up a little
I'm
bit.
sorry.
No, that's fine, and that is really impressive to not. I don't want to say not have to go to a tuning in order to play a song, but to just accomplish what he does in standard or just a little bit of drop D. I mean, let's face it, it's pretty much standard anyway.
Yeah, in this day and age.
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit. Where and when did you start, man? I was looking at your bio, and you were born in New York.
Yep.
Okay.
Still have an apartment there.
Nice.
I'm there sometimes. Where are you guys, by the way? You are on the East Coast, correct?
Yes, we're just outside of Baltimore.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
So, yeah, not too far from New York. I was born and raised in North Jersey myself, so I'm a little familiar with that area as well. But
that's cool, man.
Yeah, when did you get turned on to music, and what kind of did it for you?
Well, my dad was he wasn't a pro musician, but he was a guitar strumming, folk singing kind of guy. And he had this gorgeous Martin D28 built in, I think, 60. Actually, I don't know when it was built, but he bought it in 67. So it's an old one. It's one of the guitars with no truss rod. And it sounds awesome. And so he would just strum chords and sing. And I immediately was turned on to guitar, I think, from age 1. And by the time I could conceive, wow, he's holding an instrument, I remember being about 3 and just always wanting to play the guitar, wanting to smell the wood of the guitar, feel the blue velvet on the inside of the case. I was enchanted with how cool the clips closed on the case and opened up. And so I was always inspired to play.
That's nice. Now your last name, Rafferty.
Yeah.
Any relation?
No relation to Jerry Rafferty.
Okay. So, I figured I would just get that out of the way because people go, oh, my God, his dad was a guitar player, too.
Yeah, here we go, right?
Here we go, yeah.
No relation, as far as I know.
Okay.
And so my parents got me little plastic toy guitars, like what kids, before the ones with the buttons, they actually had little strings on them, but they would never really work. And then at age 5, I started taking guitar lessons with a guy who's pretty well known today. He's an acoustic blues finger picker by the name of Woody Mann. He's done a bunch of lessons for Stefan Grossman and the Stefan Grossman's Guitar Workshop. A bunch of video lessons, bunch of great books. He tours all the time. Well, basically, he was in his early to mid-20s when I was 6. And he was the guitar teacher who came to my school. So I started with finger-picking blues with little Reverend Gary Davis things. And I don't really know all the names of the people in that genre, but he would feed me these little tablatures in addition to learning just the chords to Beatles songs. But that's how I started.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, obviously the guy was probably a pretty good. I mean, we've all had guitar teachers over the years, and you don't know if the guy is a guitarist part time, and you know he has a lawn service, you know, and the other part of the time, you know. But this guy was obviously, you know, moving on to bigger and better all the time, an accomplished musician. So that's a great way to start.
That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and how old were you? 6?
5 or 6. I was in first grade.
Oh my God.
Wow, yeah, it's about 6.
Wow, that is cool.
So, yeah, it was great. And so that's how I started. Yeah.
And guitar at that time, do you still have it?
Yep, it's in storage. It's a little 3/4 size nylon string guitar with a name sticker on it, so in case I lost it at school, people knew who it belonged to. So I still got that thing. Yeah,
that's very nice. That's very nice. So when did you start picking up the chicks by playing guitar? When did you go out and actually start performing?
Well, I started to perform at with a rock band when I was a teenager at age 14. My first professional gig was age 16, where I actually got paid to play.
Now you were playing electric guitar at that time, correct?
Well, basically, I was doing the lessons with Woody. That was acoustic guitar. That went until about age 10 or 11. Then I got an electric guitar when I was 12 and sort of taught myself rock and roll, just listening by ear. That it would have been cool to have a teacher, but on the other hand, I was slugging it out in the bedroom myself, figuring out Jimmy Page solos and just developing my ear, listening to things over and over again and figuring them out as best as I could. And at that time, Steve Morse put out a Hot Licks cassette. It was when you could order the cassettes from Arlen Roth, and they would come in sort of a Ziploc
Awesome.
bag with a little booklet.
I remember those.
And I got the Steve Morse one, and it was my first rude awakening into developing some type of technique, not just playing, but also practicing and focusing in on, fingers just landing right and being able to alternate pick. And he's one of my favorite electric players.
Oh, yeah.
Steve is one of those guys. I had one of his VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets down to like the mechanics so much that he's like, look, when you're going between two strings, you want to travel the outside, because even though it's harder, you can articulate the note better and stuff like that. And it's like you try to build that, and if you work at it, it does make sense. It's just very difficult. Your brain doesn't. You
got to put the hours in.
Yeah. And that guy, I've seen him live. He's one of those ones that is like, man, that doesn't look like he's playing.
He is a rock. He just delivers. I mean, one of the most hair-raising gigs I ever saw, and in fact, it's so hair-raising that I've lost all my hair. but one of the hair-raising gigs that I saw. I was about 15 or 16, and it was the Steve Morse Band when he had broken away from the Dixie Dregs in a sort of medium-sized music venue in New York City called the Lone Star. And it was with the drummer Rod Morgenstern, who played with the Dregs, and his bass player Jerry Peake. Okay. And these guys worked out just the most ridiculous sort of power trio / Southern rock things. Rod Morgenstern did a drum solo, and they burst into the guitar solo section of Dazed and Confused from Zeppelin. Wow. And I thought my head was just going to explode. It was the most awesome thing I'd ever heard. I mean, it was very exciting. Wow. Anyhow, I would say that getting into him was sort of, my interest was piqued to develop my guitar playing and musicianship. And then he sort of hinted in his instructions that he had studied classical guitar at the University of Miami. And so I thought, well, if he did it, I better do it. So I started studying classical guitar at age 15, which was another horribly rude awakening. I mean, that's just, I had to learn how to read music, which I'm very thankful for, straighten out my left hand position, straighten out my right hand position, the whole thing. It's a challenge if you've ever attempted to do it.
It's a very
and
proper
so that was
thing.
for a couple of years, and then I would say following classical guitar, I got accidentally into hip hop, where at a band rehearsal in college, I was sort of goofing off with my best friend, we were pretending to do some rap music and human beatbox, you know, sort of that moment of a rehearsal where everybody's making noise on the instrument that they shouldn't be making noise on. You know. And band leader said, "You guys sound great. Why don't you do one song at our next gig?" So we actually had to develop a tune. And this was a moment where there was so much pressure and such bad vibes at the classical guitar department at the school that I was at, that this band was sort of what I was living for at the time. I was about 18, 19 years old. Fast forward from there, when you said, when did you start getting the chicks? Well, when you're rapping on stage with a microphone and jumping around like a maniac and not playing an instrument, all of a sudden the chicks become very interested. so that's sort of where I learned.
Damn, knew I should have been a rapper.
So that ended up getting its own momentum to the point where we had a manager. We appeared on a record that was on Atlantic Records with some European producers. It was like a dance hit at the time.
Wow.
And then at that period, I started becoming interested in jazz because I had a friend who was a terrific pianist, and he was actually the keyboardist in our groups at that time. And by the name of Joel Martin, by the way, Joel Martin. He's a terrific piano player.
Nice.
And he's still out there doing his thing. Okay. He could sort of play Bill Evans and Oscar Peterson stuff extremely well on the piano. He was kind of a piano prodigy. And that piqued my interest to learn a little jazz piano and try to apply it to guitar, because I wasn't really a jazz guitar fan. So at that moment, that's when I found the most important music teacher of my life, a man by the name of Mike Longo, who was my mentor for about 15 years following, meaning from that point on. Mm-hmm. He was the former pianist for the great trumpet player Dizzy Gillespie.
Huh. Wow. Well, there you go.
He played with Diz from 1964 to 1971. And so he took me under his wing, and after about a year, he said, "Listen, I want you to be 100% committed to what you're doing. If you want to be a rapper, I don't have time for you." He kind of socked it to me the way a good teacher should. So I said, "Okay, you got it. I commit." and I learned how to play a guitarist's version of playing piano. I couldn't play piano on a gig, but I got my musicianship together. I studied arranging. I studied counterpoint, a whole lot of rhythm stuff. Just he put me through the mill of what I would need to play with guys like Dizzy Gillespie. And, man, I got to play with many of the greatest jazz musicians on the scene. I mean, I've recorded with Bob Cranshaw. I don't know if that name means anything to you, but he's been Sonny Rollins' bass player since the 60s and was in the original Saturday Night Live band. And
I know the name. I don't know him, but I know the name for sure.
Yeah, he sort of also helped me with playing on my recordings, and I got to play with Dr. Lonnie Smith.
So you then get to this point where you're playing with all these hot jazz guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you still playing an electric at this point?
Yeah, I was playing an ever shrinking archtop, meaning I started very idealistically.
Monster.
And since your show is called Amps and Axes, I can tell you I have a 1965 Epiphone Triumph, and that thing sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you plug that in, if there's a bass player plugged in, it just turns into a feedback machine.
Yeah.
Because those were guitars before the days of bass players using amps. Once a bass player starts rocking through an amp,
it's just one big resonating chamber.
Yeah.
with a microphone attached to it.
And I played a variety of handmade archtops. I had a couple endorsements. Eventually, I got the guitars just kept getting thinner, and eventually I got a 91 ES 135 with a block in it, and that thing just sounded better and could do battle with bass and drums when it was loud.
Wow.
And then for my last couple of jazz tours, I found, I shouldn't say this, like for $250, a Yamaha guitar with a bolt-on neck with P90s. I bought it on eBay, and I basically had that thing gutted and brought it to my tech. I said, put new switches in it and put these Lindy Fralin P90s in it. So the thing sounds great, but the body is just a hunk of wood with the neck bolted on. And I could have 12s on there. And by the time you're playing through an amp at a jazz festival, there's not that much of a difference in sound. I mean, it's still, especially for the sound checks that I had to do, which were down and dirty, quick sound checks. I didn't really have the time to tweak things
they're pretty
perfectly to my liking.
They're pretty much line checks.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, just going back to the mentoring that you have had the opportunity to have, it's just with all these guys, it's just phenomenal.
I'm blessed.
It blows me away.
Yeah, man.
And to teach you how to interface with other people of that caliber, to bring your talent up to the point where you can interface with other people of that caliber. That's phenomenal.
I mean, I always give the props to my teacher, Mike Longo. He was the big one. And, I just want to say his website, it's jazzbeat.com. If anybody's interested, he does have courses on what he does. But the heaviest thing that I learned from him was Dizzy Gillespie's rhythmic approach, where for years he didn't even want to hear me play guitar at the lessons as the first thing. He would put a little African hand drum in my hand, and I had to get certain rhythms sounding exactly right, where the tone of the drum was like speaking and the drum was grooving. And then he would come and play with me to lift me up to the level that he thought I needed to be at groove-wise.
Wow.
And what that did was orient every single move that I made on any instrument to be within a certain kind of a pocket. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but to develop, you wouldn't think that playing a drum develops your tone on the guitar. You know, for example, a classical guitarist thinks their tone starts at their fingernails or something, or your tone is your pick, or your tone is your amp. I mean, he would do things with me rhythmically where he would make, then afterwards the guitar would sound completely different. Mm-hmm. It would have this magic sort of spirit in it. And, you know, that's what you're hearing when you hear Wes Montgomery play one note and you go, it's amazing. Or when you hear a great drummer sit down at the drums and everything sounds crystal clear and the cymbals sound clear. He taught me how to play with that kind of a touch.
I think you attack the guitar, you attack the note differently. You attack it once I think you experience something like that, or you're taught to experience that. I think you attack it more, I don't know, more rhythmically. Well, you know, more you change your percussive attack in order for it, like, not all to be the same. Kind of create There's little nuances and
all the nuances, all the accents, because, you know, when you're playing a groove, there's different notes that need to be loud and soft.
Right.
And I always tell people, you know, because the stock answer is, well, you got to use a metronome to make your rhythm better. And I actually tell people, you know, that's going to mess you up. You think it's going to make you better, but it's going to mess you up because it takes you away from your body rhythm and puts you all the way up in your head. But I can't, for example, in a blog post, when it's just somebody replying, well, I like a metronome, I can't describe my experience in words, nor can I sit down with them and show them the depth of what I'm talking about. Yes, all the notes you play and the way you hear things just changes completely.
Absolutely.
And then you may start to, you know, whereas on paper there might be a very efficient guitar fingering, you might be playing and say, I know it looks wrong, but it just feels really good when I just repeat the same finger. All the books say I should alternate my fingers, but this feels better. And it's little decisions like that, because you end up trying to make your fingers agree with your gut.
Right.
Which is developed, the gut is developed from playing a drum.
Right. And, you know, this is really strange because I do have a friend of mine that says, man, I think every guitar player should know how to play drums.
That was me.
I think that's you.
I've said it on this. I've said it here.
I know.
But I've said it out to other people, too.
No, it's true. I, you know, early on I started drums, guitar.
I wish I could take full credit for that, but I heard that from Nuno Betancourt. But I did it when I was 8 years old. I played drums in school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't play a drum kit to save my life. I mean, I can play a couple beats badly, but the sort of African thing on a hand drum, some of the basic things I've practiced a lot. I use a little Remo. I always recommend to people the Remo Kids djembe. It's the one with like an hourglass kind of shape, so it's real easy to hold between your legs when you're sitting.
Yeah,
with the little multicolor jungle animals, you know.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's nice because it's not ceramic; it doesn't fall over and break, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
Now you can just practice on that.
Now, you know what's funny is that Paul Gilbert, who I like Paul Gilbert. He later, because he was a metronome guy, he broke away from the metronome, and he used to say, when you hear something, beat it out on your legs. You know, like beat that rhythm out. If it was like, you know, 16th notes, he was like, you know, da, 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 you know, like that. And he said what that does is that develops this pattern that kind of gets just like what Adam's saying, you know, it gives you that heartbeat where when we've talked about this, these guys that are very technical and you know that they live by the metronome and there's a click in the background when they're recording. I said it's like one of those things you can kind of get through a song, but it kind of there's something that doesn't.
It's a little more lifeless.
Yeah, it doesn't convey very well. And these are not slacker musicians. These guys are actually technically very good, but
right, very proficient
there's,
musicians.
like you said, there's just no gut.
Right.
Well, I mean, one of Longo's things, I had several lessons where he would say, well, what you just did was technically perfect, but spiritually it was not.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
There's, you know, metronomes, to my knowledge, now I might be wrong, but they were not invented as practice tools. The reason a metronome was invented was, let's say, you know, just the way I have my little sheet music or my DVDs that I sell. Well, Beethoven would write out his piano sonatas, and there'd be a publisher in Germany selling them. And if they needed to know 3 villages over how fast the andante was supposed to be, that was a very convenient way of describing the tempo so that people could play the tempo, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But to use it as a thing to practice with, you know, another sort of analogy that sometimes I liken it to is, imagine if you were, I mean, this might sound kind of far out, but imagine if you were juggling and you got a gig juggling in the circus where you had to juggle in rhythm with something else. The basic juggling skill is kind of like keeping a groove. That has to be internal to you. You have to be able to do that, to keep the balls in the air.
It has to be your rhythm.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so that you feel the flow. There's a flow, for example, to juggling. But then when you have to do it with somebody else, like to the flashing lights at the circus or with the 3 other jugglers, you might have to sort of guide the tempo that your groove goes at, so you hook up with that. So tempo and groove are 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but to have a groove, that's body rhythm. So when you're talking about these technical players, there's a cut that people do where certain musicians, it's as if you can't see what I'm doing. As I say the word cut, I'm putting my hand across my throat. It's sort of like a head-only music. It's like a head with no body to it. Mm-hmm. You know, and that would be, the more intellectual music gets, then you're way up in your head. And a lot of people say to me, ooh, I don't like jazz. And it's like, well, I can understand. You've probably been listening to jazz with all the guys who are just studying in school and learning how to play a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a John Coltrane solo, and everything's in their head, and they've never been up in Harlem where they got to play the blues and hook up with the drums and make the audience scream. They haven't been down in their body where that kind of thing happens.
Right.
So correct for one paradigm can be incorrect for the other. And generally speaking, people who play with body rhythm sound like they're going too slow for people who are playing head rhythm, and people who are playing head rhythm sound like they're way out of the pocket and playing too fast for the people with body rhythm. So anyway, I don't know if any of that makes sense.
I think a good drummer doesn't necessarily play on the beat like a metronome. Most good, at least drummers I like playing with, I mean, they're back of the beat just a little bit. You know, they're just and that's what gives it the human feel.
That's right.
We've said it. I don't know how many times on this show.
Yeah.
You look at these bands that have been out there, and I'm just talking these rock bands that we know. These guys, if you threw anything at them like that, they would probably hunt you down. Because I mean, I think it's almost like you're lying. You know, think about it, right? If you know somebody that's like salt of the earth and truthful to you, and they give it to you as it is, you accept that a lot better. And this is just putting it as plain as can be. But if somebody's kind of lying to you, there's something in your head that just isn't buying it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you got this thing that's just mapped out absolutely perfect, it just isn't going to come across as truthful.
It's not something I want to sit around and listen to all night. You know? No, it's just not.
And I think people that say
correct. Yeah, it's correct, and it's maybe good enough for backing a singer up because you got a call to do a gig, and it's her little gig, but it's not enough. I mean, even if it's a rock band, man, John Bonham or the guy from AC/DC, those guys are laying it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely.
There's no BS about where they're put in the pocket.
Right.
Wow. So I guess
at this point you're still playing electric.
Yeah.
In this thing, I want to know
when that transition happened.
When the transition happened, that you went back to the hollow box. You know.
Well, this was really interesting. I had been bringing my own trio on tour here to Austria and Germany and a couple other places. I was setting up little tours, and starting in about '98.
This is still an electric trio.
Yeah.
Okay.
With an upright bass and sometimes a bigger guitar and sometimes a smaller guitar. I was still hashing out my equipment, but guitar, bass, drums, and playing all little jazz clubs here and also an occasional jazz festival. And there were a couple things happening. I kept feeling like I wanted to reach more people. And I noticed when we would do real jazzy things, of course, people would ooh and ah and wow, that's interesting. And when we would lay down some sort of funk or more blues things, it was like, well, in all honesty, I was really enjoying that more. And then we also connected with the people more. So that was sort of operating. I just felt like I want to connect with people. Cool. But then this was a real story of a negative turning into a positive. I, by a weird twist of fate, hooked up with a really famous fusion bass player whose name I'm not going to say. He was big on the scene in the 80s, and he sort of dropped off. And I ran into him in New York, and I was like, man, you're so-and-so? And he was like, yeah. And we got together and played, and musically we really hit it off. And so I said to him, I said, hey, would you like to come on tour with me? I really won't pay too much, but he was kind of wanting to get his career back on track. And I thought, his name would sort of boost the value of the group, and maybe we could get some better gigs or get a little higher pay bracket. Long story short, it exploded into one of the most negative experiences of my life. The guy was a total lunatic, and I found out why he's no longer on the scene. I mean, he's just was so out there. It was like being on tour with an absolute crazy person that you were afraid of. And I had to manage this guy's travel and hotel and sound checks. And it was
wow,
terrible. But that made me come back. That was in 2004. And I said, I got to rethink what I'm doing because something's not working. I tried hard. I can't pay the guy. I can't be a leader and pay the level of guys that I need. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just stopped booking my own tours, and then I played as a sideman for a couple years with some different guys. One guy was Benny Wallace, great tenor player. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, Lonnie Smith, and another very important guy who I played with was a drummer named Alvin Queen.
Okay.
Who was the last drummer that Oscar Peterson had in his group, and he's a monster drummer. He really taught me a lot also. Wow. And so I knew I wanted to do my own thing, but I wasn't sure what it was going to be. And, this is just going to run like every other Fingerstyle guy's story at this point. A friend says, did you ever hear of this guy named Tommy Emmanuel? I said, no. And he says, man, check this out. And he puts in the Live at Sheldon Hall DVD.
Yeah.
And so, harmonically, of course I know what he's doing. I'm a jazz guitar player. But the groove and the extroverted nature and the putting on a show and to just bringing the house down with a single guitar, I said, I'm going to do that.
Wow.
I'm going to bring, I mean, I knew it within 2 minutes of seeing that. I said, that's it. I said, I want to do that, but I'm going to bring my background to it. And of course, you know, it's one thing to have an idea, and then it's another thing to practice 10 hours a day for 7 years to actually get the arrangements under your fingers. And so, you know, I was so inspired. And so I had to just start building again from square one. My father was beside himself because he was so happy that I was starting to have a career as a musician. He says, man, are you crazy? You're starting everything over. I was already in my late 30s, you know. And I said, nope, this is what I'm going to do.
Wow.
And my very best friend, who I was in that hip-hop group with, I had just started the very first arrangement. I was trying to do an arrangement for I Wish by Stevie Wonder, which is one of my first YouTube videos. Huh. And I hadn't even had it under my fingers, and my best friend says, oops, excuse me, there's a Mac chiming in the background, restart.
There you go.
My best friend says, you know, you're going to have to practice this for about 5 years for it to really be under your fingers, but you could be the Stevie Wonder guitar guy. He just, it's like he just had this direct pipeline. He has this intuition. He says, you can be the guy that does this.
That's
and of
awesome.
course, there's
what
other
a
guys
vision!
who do it, but you know, I became well known on YouTube for doing some of Stevie Wonder's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and I remember I wrote this note to Tommy Emmanuel. You know, this bleeding heart note. I said, "Man, you've inspired me so much, and the touch you're playing with, and this and that. You're just awesome. You're my new favorite guy." And I said to him, but watch out, because I'm practicing and I'm coming. And so he wrote me back. He says, Dear Adam, I got your lovely email. Don't worry, I can practice more than you. That was his, that was his reply to me.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. It's you know, so playing with him on stage is like going one-on-one with Michael Jordan. You know, it's this very sort of healthy, you know, but he's going to sock it to you. But anyway,
it's a healthy competition.
That was the break into fingerstyle. And man, the first couple tours were, the first tour was on the musical side, the hardest tour I'd ever done because I wasn't used to that pressure. I always could lean on a bass player and drummer, and to have to do a whole concert myself. I mean, I was so nervous. I was sweating through my shirts by the end of the first set.
Yeah.
On the other side, it was very gratifying, and I actually financially did much better. I mean, I'm just being frank on the for you guys because musicians are listening. Sure. The truth was I didn't need to pay for 3 plane tickets. I only had to pay for 1. I didn't have to pay for 3 hotel rooms. Right. I only had to pay for 1, and I didn't have to pay 2 other guys' salary.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to manage crazy people.
That's the main thing. And but musically, you know, I could because rock bands like to sort of are committed to rehearsing, whether they like it or not. But they're committed. But jazz bands, you know, jazz musicians very much say, don't worry, you know, it's just a blues. I'll play it on the gig. Mm-hmm. Or, just give me the chart. And they don't really want to commit to the kind of rehearsal that like a pop or rock band would do. Sure. And one thing that I really like about playing fingerstyle is I can practice something as much as I feel I need to practice it to get it in tip-top shape for recording or stage. Mm-hmm. So I really like that aspect. And it's actually more of a feeling of being in a band than it is being a jazz musician. Yeah, I'm not improvising when I play fingerstyle. It's rehearsed stuff. Here's the bridge, here's the this. I'm putting together my show. I'm putting together the set. And it reminds me of rehearsing with a band.
It's like comedian doing jokes.
Wow. I guess. Wow. Yeah, I didn't get what you meant by that statement in the first place, but it's it's more etched in stone than improvisation, you know, and
The way I do it.
Yeah.
you ever stretch out just a little bit?
You know, on some tunes, yes, but I'm so used to a certain kind of holding a flat pick and a certain kind of tone for when I'm playing a guitar solo that it feels totally weird with just bare fingers and a thumb pick with a real bright sounding acoustic guitar. I mean, you're out there, and it's also a different experience, a guitar plugged into a PA system, than it is an amp. You know, there's no warmth covering up your mistakes. You got to be spot on with your fingerings and with the arrangements. And so maybe a little bit on like a middle section, for example, of Ain't No Sunshine, I'll just groove on A minor a little bit and solo for 16 bars or 32 bars and see what happens.
There you go.
Yeah.
But no real heavy improvisation. I physically haven't gotten my head wrapped around how to do it. Even though I could play jazz guitar for days, you know, it's just on a steel string guitar and a PA system with a thumb pick. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got the show sussed out now to where you're comfortable, and it's what you want to present to the public, and
so,
you know why. Yeah. If it ain't broke, you know,
and it's not like he isn't working.
Right.
You know, he's working.
Exactly.
Well, you know, you got to keep creative. I mean, the last couple of years, I took the attitude, hey, you know, don't change the winning team. You know, I got my repertoire, I got my thing that works. And then you do it long enough, you start to feel like you're going through the motions. You know, that's the next thing. You know, people are going to like this song or Billie Jean or Superstition or whatever, but sooner or later, that's the entertainer in me, but the musician says, "Man, I need something new. You know, I need to maybe write something or explore something new." So you know, creep the new things in slowly.
Sure.
Right.
Now, the preferred acoustic guitar. What do you enjoy using?
On stage, I really love the Maton guitar. I play the Maton Michael Fix model. It's the EBG or EGB 808 and then with a C, meaning for cutaway. So it's kind of the same dimensions as the Tommy Emmanuel Maton guitar, but it sounds a little different. You know, it's I'm not sure which sound I like better, but this has a cutaway and an ebony neck, kind of like an acoustic, you know, ES 175 kind of thing.
Australian manufacturer, right?
Yeah, and they've just figured out the whole pickup preamp mic blend thing. They've got it down, and the guitar itself, I mean, I like it because it kind of feels like an electric guitar. It doesn't feel like a big hulky acoustic guitar.
Nice.
The only drawback is if you want to play it acoustically or record with it, the sound is pretty small. It's a real tight, small-sounding little guitar, but that works to your benefit on stage because it's not going to resonate quite as hard.
I got you.
As a real resonant guitar would. So, and I experienced that with jazz archtops. The living room guitar is not the stage guitar, and the stage guitar is not the living room guitar. Hang on one sec. Sure. Is this okay that I'm still talking in here? I'm just making sure I'm not making too much noise here. So that, and I have two of those. I have my main one, and then I have one that I just bring as a backup, so that if I'm playing a festival and a pickup goes haywire or a guitar gets lost or smashed, there's just another one that I can grab.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean,
I often don't play that second one, but I always have it with me.
Well, you're a professional. Like any touring musician, you've got to have a backup, you know.
Yeah. Sure. And there are, I actually just got a guitar 3 days ago this is more of it's probably going to be a recording guitar. I did have it outfitted with a pickup with a K&K Trinity. There's a Russian builder named Kibbin, Kibbin. And he builds great stuff. I did some gigs over there. He wanted to lay a guitar on me to check out, and I said, by all means, I'll check it out. And so I've just been playing it a couple days. Like I said, I don't know if that's a touring guitar yet, but I'll probably use that for recording.
Nice.
Because the Maiden was a little too tight sounding on my last recording, as I said. And I did have it outfitted with a pickup, though, because I like blending. I like blending a pickup and mics when I record. It just gives me more options.
Oh, okay.
Any favorite mic when it comes to recording?
You know,
Where you leave that up to the studio engineer?
no, you know, I went to a studio for my last CD, the Michael Jackson tribute CD, and I saw the way they did it. I'm going to try to record myself. I mean, I've got an interface. I actually just bought a Zoom H6, which, believe it or not, and the preamps on that thing, there's guys testing it against RME interfaces. If I don't know if you guys know or your audience knows what an RME interface is. RME is a brand. They make good quality interfaces. There's a guy who does some A/B tests on YouTube, and the preamps in the Zoom H6 sound awesome. So I just bought one.
Wow. And
it gives phantom power. You can put up to 6 channels, 4 with phantom, and then you can put 2 more. So nice. I could do mics and pickups into there. So I'm probably going to be recording myself.
Wow.
And I did my first couple CDs myself, and they could have sounded better. Yeah, a studio is great, but I've found that people react a whole lot more to the music and the playing rather than if it's a $7,000 Neumann microphone.
Right.
They don't know. I mean, my first recording, Gratitude, there is so much noise. I had a G5 Mac Tower with the fan buzzing in the room, and that's everybody's favorite CD.
I keep telling you, I love noise.
Noise is good.
There's something natural about it. Now, maybe not an overabundance of it, but a little pickup hum at the end of a fade out of a song, or just a little bit of a fan noise here when everything's really quiet. It's like we've made things too sterile, and all the classic stuff. There's noises all over it. So you get a little bit of fan noise in there. So what?
Yeah. But at this point, I have. I'll tell you what I have. It's not necessarily the most expensive stuff, but it works for me. I've got a couple of Rode NT5 microphones.
Okay.
I have a Mojave, some kind of tube condenser, small diaphragm microphone. That's pretty good, like a 101 FET, something like that. And I have a large condenser Octava MK319. It's just kind of the Rode. It's kind of like a Rode NT1, like a vocal mic.
Mm-hmm.
And if I put those things around the guitar and also do a line out, I have a lot to work with.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And my last couple of CDs, the guy who mixed and mastered was Gene Paul, son of Les Paul. Wow. And so, wow. he's awesome. He's got these ears. I mean, he can hear the difference between half a dB of treble just on one side.
Wow.
I mean, he's meaning. Let me rephrase that. If he says, "Hey, this could use a little more treble," put half a dB on the left side, and when he turns that on and off, he can hear the difference. And so,
wow,
mixing with him. He showed me tricks about using short reverbs and long reverbs at the same time, and just how to listen. So basically, if I record pretty clean tracks, I'll send them to him or I'll go to him and we'll mix. So, I don't really – and by the way, that Zoom thing can record at very high resolution. If any of your listeners are interested, you can record, what is it, 96?
Yeah, 96 kilohertz.
You can record, it takes up more space, and you pop it on an SD card. And
I just got a Blu-ray audio disc from the Allman Brothers 3 nights at the Fillmore. And I was like, I can't play it in anything except for my Blu-ray player on my television, because I don't have anything that can read a Blu-ray disc.
Wow.
Because they're like 40 gigs or something like that.
I don't know.
It must sound,
yeah, you can hear the audience.
Yeah. I'd love to do something like that, but it's the next question that comes up is, what's the future of CDs? What's the future of recording? So much is free, or so much is piped into things like Spotify for free. So, and I say that because it's not quite the presentation and the calling card that it used to be, to simply like have a CD. Now everybody has a CD, and I can't even tell you the last time I put a CD player into a CD player.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
People buy them on gigs from me as mementos, and they want something signed and everything, but everything's available online. So I'm thinking, I want to be able to record stuff, get it up online, maybe make a CD, maybe have something to sell at the gigs, but I'm not so sure what's the next format going to be. Maybe YouTube's more. I'll tell you, I don't know if this is where you guys want the discussion to go. If not, just ask me another question about guitar. But
no.
I've recorded songs on that first CD in 2007 that people didn't know existed. And then I make a YouTube video, and everybody's asking me for the tabs.
Yeah.
And then I do an instructional DVD with my own songs, and it's a hit. And it's only a hit because of what happened on YouTube. It didn't become known from the CD.
No,
Granted, it got played, it's in rotation on some radio stations, and some people heard it, and it's still, I think you kind of have to have a CD, but anyhow, it's just...
Now, video really seems to be the format right now.
The YouTube thing, yeah.
That's where everything goes viral from. It's video. But yeah, the way the recorded material used to be the way an artist would make money, and then he would go out to support the release because everybody would see the show, for inexpensive ticket prices, and then you would go out and you would buy the album, or you would have the album and you wanted to see the show anyway.
Yeah.
People used to make the money off the recorded material. Now it's just the opposite. You record something,
and then
so that you can go tour it and make the money on the tour.
Yeah, selling shirts and
right. But and people, they want to see more now than they want to hear. Everybody always wanted to go to a concert, but now that's more of a thing than the recorded material itself, which is a very good thing. But you have to be able to do it. You have to be able to tour.
Yeah.
It's and that's not everybody wants to do that. But it just seems to be the way things are going. And a lot of people are just making. A lot of these guys are making as much money on the merch going out and touring than they are, just from tour income itself.
Oh yeah. And depending on how many people are setting it up, and how much venues cost, and how much booking agents, and everybody takes a piece. It's
Oh, for sure.
Well,
I'm a one-man show at the moment. Always in search of a road manager, but people end up calling me. It's funny in at least in Europe and on the fingerstyle guitar scene. The minute there's Tommy, who's huge. And there's a couple other people who are kind of like right under that, but then there's like a lot of people at a very similar level under that, like me, Don Ross. I'm trying to think who else. Andrea Valeri. I don't know if these names mean anything, but there's like a circuit, and a lot of the bookers, they don't want to call and deal with the manager. They're like, Adam, I just want to talk to you. I just want to deal with you.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
And they say, we know what you need. We got the sound system. We got everything. So a lot of us are still self-managed.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it seems to be easy enough on a small scale. I know I have a lot of friends that do this. They'll tour Europe like once a year, maybe twice a year. You know, and like some of the blues guys I know, they'll be doing large venues. You know, and the next day they're doing a bar.
Yeah,
you know,
Robert Cray.
Cray probably still does it. Yeah, but I mean, they're you know, they're hip hopping all over Europe and in all different size venues. But it's something that they do at least once a year. And there's no big management behind those guys. You know, it's a lot of those guys, they may have a booking agent. Yeah, you know, but there's guys that they repeat this process with every year or twice a year, and they know who they're working with and they know what they need, and you just go over there, and the audiences are fantastic. You know,
yeah, exactly.
The other there's one more thing. The who was it? Was it Frampton? Somebody was doing this. I think it was Frampton, where they would go out, and you were mentioning recording, and you don't know what the next step is in recording. I'm pretty sure it's Frampton when he's touring. They record the performance that night. They bring in where you used to have to pull up like a Sheffield semi and pop the back. They bring in a couple of guys. They put in a room with a computer, and they take line feeds right off front of house.
Sure.
You know, they'll record the entire show. You can wait in line for a half an hour or 45 minutes after the show and leave with that show.
Isn't that cool?
I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing what technology allows you to do now, you know? I mean, half the time I'm calling technology the devil, but, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, that's
something like that. You can take home your experience that night. Oh, I remember when he did this.
Well, I tell you what, that puts a lot of pressure on the sound man.
Oh, yeah.
With a band? Oh, that dude. Because you'd be like, hey.
Well, hopefully you're just taking line feeds out of front of house. And
hopefully it's presets that you have that you're using every night.
Yeah. So
more or less.
Yep.
Yeah. More or less.
But you have such a reduced scale to do that on, so, you know, it could work easily.
Yeah.
Well, but then that's the thing, you know, with fingerstyle guitar, then you're so exposed that to really get it to sound nice, you spend more time in the studio on the mix than you'd think. You know, get all the registers to sound clear and
Oh, I don't doubt it. But but you know, in a live situation, you've got to be able to mix in the room and, you know, the crowd response and everything else. So, you know, there's a lot of forgiving that happens just from all that ambient noise. You know, and the crowd wants to hear themselves, you know.
Sure.
And, you know, so it's everybody's part of the party.
You hear the drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, man, it is midnight. You are now into the next
that's right.
day.
We got to let him go. Jesus.
You've been so kind to stay. I'm looking at the time and I'm going, it's 6:06. Yeah, it's midnight there.
Yeah.
Guys, well, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
No, Adam, it's been great, man. Thank you so much for staying awake and taking the time.
Absolutely.
And best of luck over there in performing and recording and everything else. Best of luck with your entire career, man, and onward.
And thanks. I just wanted to do a quick plug, if I may,
absolutely,
for the website and something that's out there, because this is something that people ask me a lot.
Okay.
They see, you know, Superstition by Stevie Wonder, or they see Isn't She Lovely, my version of it. So I want to tell people you can go to adamrafferty.com, and there are DVDs and on-demand downloads as well to learn the Stevie Wonder songs and some Jackson 5 songs that are legal with the tabs, with the video instruction, the whole smash. All you have to do is go to adamrafferty.com and check that out. Yep. And if you're not ready to do that, there are also some free tablatures and some blues things and an arrangement of "O Come All Ye Faithful," Christmas song.
Oh, nice.
So there's stuff on adamrafferty.com for the guitar pickers who are interested in fingerstyle if they want to check out how I play some of this stuff.
Christmas is coming, people.
Yep. And just know, Adam, like we do with every guest, your show will be out on our page indefinitely. It will go to the episodes and archives, and in there, I will have links to your website, and we will put a link on our Support the Show page that will point to you indefinitely also. So they will always be able to find it on our stuff, and of course, they can go straight to your page if they want. But
absolutely,
definitely spread it around and check you out on YouTube and. We will definitely have to circle back around and talk to you in like a half a year or something. And
check in at some point in the future, see how things are going.
Man, I appreciate it, you guys.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you very much for taking the time. And like I said, best of luck with your career.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Fantastic,
All right,
man.
take it easy, Mick. Jeff, so long. Bye-bye.
Take care. Well, I mean, there you go. How cool was that? All the way from Austria.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing.
Yeah, the marvels of Skype.
A little side note there.
Oh, yeah, he told us after.
Yeah, he told us after, so we want to make everybody aware of it. On the show, So You Think You Can Dance.
Right.
The guy on there, he thinks his name is Nick. It's on YouTube if you look for it.
Sure.
The guy does a tap dance to Superstition.
Yeah, his version of Stevie Wonder's Superstition.
So how cool is that?
That's way cool.
He said
man.
they called him and said, "Hey, can we use it?" And
right.
It's like, really? That's amazing.
That's, it just keep putting music out there. You'd never know where it's going to turn up.
Yeah. And do yourself a favor. Check him out on YouTube because he's one of those guys, man. I mean, he's one of those ones. You heard him talk about Tommy. Mm-hmm. Adam's no slouch, man.
Oh no.
The cat can hang, and he's really exceptional. And the thing I like about it is you can always tell the guys when it just doesn't look like they're really putting a lot of effort into it, and he's getting the head moving and stuff. You can tell the cat is definitely he's well versed in what he does, and it's awesome. It just conveys so well.
Like he says, he rehearses himself a lot.
Yeah.
And just because he wants to give the best product to his audience, they're paying money to see him, and he wants to give them the best that he can, and prepares himself for that, and that's awesome, man. Yeah. I really enjoyed the fact that he said that he didn't like the piano, but he kind of wanted to play like a piano.
Yeah.
You know, like piano lines. I really find that very interesting. And, you know, I've probably said it before. I know I've said it before. I don't know if I said it on the show or not. But, you know, I think it's really fantastic and interesting. And I know I'm not the only person to think this way. And I may have even picked this up by, you know, another influence of mine or something. But sometimes playing guitar lines can get a little boring and repetitive, you know. And I was thinking, like, what else? You play guitar. What else can you play like? But search out sax lines.
Yeah, we were talking about that once.
And
I knew
really
you were going there.
Yeah, it's just, it's different. You think about things a little differently when you try to play like a different instrument, whether it's a sax, whether it's a piano.
Sure.
It really, it broadens your spectrum. It really, you know, it opens your eyes and hopefully moves your fingers in a different way. And I think makes you, if not a better player, at least a different kind of player.
Yeah.
You know, because so many guitar players want to play like all these guitar players. And it's like, okay, they're all great, but, you know, everything's been said before.
Pretty much.
Can you find a different way to say it, you know, a different interpretation from a different instrument? So it's just, you know, it's something to think about.
And
you know,
don't forget to chuck your metronome in the trash. No.
You know,
look.
Yeah, I think they may be good for people who really, and maybe people like this exist. Maybe there are people that really start into an instrument that really don't have an inherent or an internal sense of time, and they need to develop that, you know, and maybe using a metronome helps the body develop a sense of time or timing, you know. But after a while, man, you really, you know, you got some internal organs that try to supersede that, and you really have to let them do that, because music is a physical thing, and if you take that aspect out of it, it's just it's too mechanical.
Sort of like taking the training wheels off the bike.
Sometimes you got to find a way to balance yourself.
That's
you know?
right.
That's it. So it's all about balance.
Yes, it is. So until next time, my friend.
And there will be a next time.
That's right.
That's right.
Damn
You're
it.
saying.
I am not saying. My name is Mick Marcelino.
And I'm still Jeff, and I'm the one that's going to say Onward.
Be sure to follow the show on Twitter @AmsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and Lick of the Week with Dave Nassi, visit our website, amsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.